Rosier, the demonic or divine entity of love. Now, why would you want to work with this amazing spirit? Well, in all matters that are based around love, and that's the what you would call the lights and the dark polarities of love, with shadow work, with self-love and acceptance, down to the more common themes of relationships and love between you and another person and that connection of the soul. He's an absolutely incredible but very unique and slightly strange spirit to work with. But let's have a look at some of his more common attributes. So Rosier is a south-based spirit, which links him with fire. He's elementally very strongly associated with fire. In terms of planetary connection, he is Venus. Rose gold is the best metal to work with him. And in terms of colour, there are many colours that I've seen people work with Rosier, but for me, a pink or light pink seems to be the best colour and most appropriate, so I would just stick with that colour. In terms of incense and scents to work with this spirit, I would personally recommend just two, which would be rose and lavender. You can mix in some dragon's blood in there as well. I use that in most rituals just to sort of give it a boost, but anything rose-based or lavender-based is absolutely perfect. And in terms of crystals, if you want to bring that into any work with him as well, I would recommend rose quartz. So it's predominantly rose-based, a lot of the materials that you would work with this spirit with. So as I've already mentioned, working with this spirit is predominantly based around love. Now, from my working experience, and I have not as much as I possibly have wanted to or should have done, but I have worked quite intensely over the years. What I've experienced with that is that he doesn't just understand what love is on a very, very profound and deep basis. He can share that with you as well. Now, that can be very, very challenging. We always think of love as being sort of this very light, happy, free-flowing experience, but that's really not actually the case if you think about it. There are always different layers to love. So yes, the light part of love is often that euphoric, peaceful, beautiful experience, but there is a dark side to it as well that can be more passionate, more lustful, even bordering into obsession. And that combination of the light and dark is where this amazing spirit really does have that experience and knowledge and can pass that on to you. Another aspect is feeling empowered within yourself. It is often a very, very big challenge to really look inwards, not the external love. I think as humans we do that a lot easier, or I certainly do. But that internal love, that true acceptance, love of yourself, that feeling of empowerment and just complete comfortableness in the internal part of yourself, particularly in the mind, can be very, very challenging. We can almost seek love from other people to counteract what we lack giving to ourselves. Rosier will help you, guide you through that process. And obviously, maybe not obviously, I don't know, but I haven't experienced any kind of transitional part of my experience. I'm talking about people that transition sex. Rosier, from what I've been told and read, can be one of the best spirits for people struggling with identity, struggling with their sexuality, anything based around that, he can really help guide you and bring you that self-love and empowerment that we all need, basically. So what is it like to work with Rosier? Well, I've read Stephanie Connolly describe him as a very shy spirit, and I would absolutely agree with that. Not distant, but shy. That's really how it feels to work. You can feel the presence, sort of almost not wanting to really come into your space, sort of keeping at a distance, and it doesn't feel like you've been watched. It feels like a very shy but very powerful person, almost just gently observing. Now, one thing I haven't read a lot of or seen people comment on a lot, and maybe it's just my experience, but every single time I've worked with Rosier, every single time, he plays pranks. He feels very light-hearted despite being shy. And I always take these sort of tricks or pranks as being a sign of the connection of what I'm working on is being helped and assisted by him. But something odd, from just my personal experience, something odd will happen pretty much every time that you contact this spirit. It is not threatening. It is not. It's not intrusive or destructive in any way. But just something slightly odd will happen. Something will go missing and reappear right where you've been looking for it, or something like that. I think it was my work phone. I turned the room upside down. It was the morning after I'd worked with him one time, and just completely thought I've lost the phone. I don't know how I've managed to do this. And then turned around and it was just right in the middle of the chair, literally where I've been stood and looking. Is it a coincidence? I personally just felt that energy. As soon as I saw the phone, I kind of worked out what was going on. It was a little 5-minute joke. But I would say, and I say this when you work with any spirits, but really with Rosier, set your boundaries. Once you finish working, close your space down, reclaim it. It is yours. So as I say, he is not particularly talkative or communicative. He would rather focus on the work that is being proposed, on the problems, the issues, on what you're wanting to progress or address. But for me, the shadow work, the self-love, the acceptance, I don't really know how else to word it, but resolving those issues that kind of can stay in our head for years and years and sometimes decades, that's where he's really come through for me and presented the things that I have needed to look at. And I know it's a cliche, it's sort of a cinematic sentence, but it is largely very, very true. If you do not love and have a loving relationship with yourself, then you almost certainly can't fully give that to other people. And this is often one of the biggest problems in relationships as well, that people, sometimes both people in the relationship, are actually struggling to fully give themselves to it and actually experience what they want, because it's terrifying for them. So that's another aspect where Rosier can really come through and help as well, and just bring things calm and loving and peaceful. I guess another aspect that isn't talked about too often, in fact, Rosier isn't spoken about anywhere near enough. He's a very obscure spirit that I haven't encountered many people that have worked with him, certainly in any kind of in-depth and long-term way. I was just kind of drawn to him, really. The name just stood out, and I just felt drawn to make contact initially, and it went really, really well, and the experience was really pleasant, so I just continued the work. But it's the healing aspect. The healing aspect of what Rosier can do is not very apparent when you just look at the surface level. But if you think of love being a vibrational energy, and love can bring healing and joy and life. And that's another aspect that working with Rosier that you can really bring into your life as well, healing. And that doesn't just mean physical, emotional healing. If you have any kind of trauma or any kind of difficult aspects from your past, particularly from childhood, that you are struggling with, then Rosier can really help you with that. So can other spirits such as Lilith. Lilith is, just by her nature, from my experience, just a bit more heavy-handed with it. That's just how she is. Rosier is very soft, and will take things at a much slower and a much more loving and calmer pace. And I think that's often what a lot of people do need in those circumstances. What does Rosier look like? Well, it's very hard to say. I just feel a very, very strong masculine energy, but very feminine at the same time. Almost feline, almost like that kind of cat energy, if that makes sense. I've seen a lot of people describe him as very tall, very handsome, long black hair, very tanned skin, and pinkish eyes. I've got to be honest, I feel Rosier. I don't see him, and I don't particularly hear him. I just feel that, like I say, that sort of masculine but feline energy. But if you have worked with him and you've actually seen, I'd love to hear what you actually saw, because I haven't had that experience yet. So what to offer Rosier if you're working with him? Well, I think it goes without saying that flowers such as roses are a very good offering. Candles in appropriate colours, so pink would be a very good offering. A crystal, rose quartz, for example, but whatever you feel drawn to that feels appropriate. Alcohol, no, not for Rosier. I always offer a herbal tea, usually with some rose petals put in there as well, and I'll just leave that on the altar for 24 hours or so before disposing of it. Now, the biggest offering that you can give to Rosier is just honouring his energy coming through and honouring the work that you are wanting to do. And I do say this a lot. You can give all the offerings, you can have the most expensive, beautiful items on your altar, but if you don't actually commit, do the work, get off your arse and be actually active in what you're wanting to achieve, it's kind of all for nothing. It's just for show. Rosier is very, very specific with that. If you want to confront something, work on it, better yourself, grow, whatever it is that you're working on with him, that commitment to yourself, him seeing you blossom and grow into what you should be, for me, that feels like the biggest offering that you can give him. So that was my personal experience, my thoughts, and how I've been successful in working with Rosier. Very, very underrated, not addressed enough, not spoken about enough spirit, that I think if you're interested in this world, if you're interested in magic and working with certain spirits, absolutely give him a go, because it's a very, very unique, really beautiful but slightly strange experience working with him. But I'm just sharing what's happened while I've worked with him. If you've been lucky enough to work with him, please let me know, make a comment. I'd be really interested to hear other people's experiences, because there's so little information out there and so little sharing of experiences with him, because just so few people work with him. But I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something from that video. The usual: like, subscribe, downvote, upvote. It's up to you. Do whatever you want. But thanks for watching.